The Marine Toys for Tots foster care program is bringing hope to children who need it most. Every 2 minutes, a child enters foster care, often with only a small bag of belongings. More than 400,000 children face trauma and uncertainty, many before age 8. This May, during Foster Care Awareness Month, Toys for Tots is creating Room for Joy. In 2025, nearly 375,000 children received comfort through toys, books, and essentials, reminding them they are not alone. Donate now and change a child's life.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi. Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Joining us is my very good friend, Jody Giglio, who is a member of the State Assembly, formerly a member of the Town Board, a councilwoman in Riverhead, New York. I've known Jody for years, an outstanding legislative leader, a smart businesswoman, a blessing to have in a legislative body where you have people who've never had real jobs making legislative decisions and public policy decisions with respect to economics and public safety, law and order, economic development, environmental issues. It's always good to have somebody who's practical, and that's a very limited, small minority. Jody, welcome to our show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Richard. It's great to be here with you, with the both of you.
So, as I just indicated before we went on the air, our esteemed Governor Hochul, announces at 9 a.m. this morning there's a deal amongst the legislative leaders, and so we expect a flurry of lawmaking, legislators voting for legislation they haven't read, nor do they understand, even if they have read it, and pushing through after, 6 or 7 extensions on the budget dates, because you're behind.
Yeah, today's 9.
Today's 9. So they just did another extender because the Speaker of the Assembly, Carl Hastie of the Bronx, said to the press, he says, there ain't no deal here. I don't know what the governor's talking about. And I think he may have said that she's misrepresenting the facts. I think he used another word, but misrepresenting the facts. So, Assemblywoman Giglio, please tell me what's going on in Albany with respect to our budget.
Okay, well, again, Richard, thank you so much for having me. And I represent the 2nd Assembly District, which is the east end of Long Island on the North Fork and the South Fork, because I go from the Sound to the Bay. And I'm really happy to be here with you. But I'm really not happy with what's happening in our state. And what's happening in our state is this rhetoric of tax the rich, and we are going to spend to make everybody convert to electric. We're going to build the infrastructure. We're going to put it on your utility bill. We're going to put it on our truck drivers that are delivering the merchandise that we want to buy, whether it be from the grocery store or the local store or your favorite deli or your favorite bakery. And we are going to tax those trucks more. We are going to tax our small businesses. We are going to tax the rich, and we are going to spend. It is absurd what's happening. I couldn't believe it when the Speaker Carl Hastie walked into the Assembly chamber this morning. We were supposed to start session at 10. We didn't start until after 11 because he came through the chamber and got a standing ovation from many of the DSA, all of the DSAs, and many of the moderates that are having to lean further left because they are being challenged by DSA. And they gave him a standing ovation for holding his ground and for not giving them what they want, which is tax the rich, New York for all, which means that, immigrants that are here, not legally, that they have access to the same services that you and I, who pay a lot of money in taxes, do. And it's the ICE rhetoric with get rid of ICE and the 287G, where local law enforcement can't work with federal agents. They're walking around the Capitol. They're walking around with red signs that have hands out with barbed wire around their wrists as handcuffs, like ICE is doing that. And they are 12 people got arrested in the Capitol last week for the New York for All folks.
Well, let me ask you a question. Is there any hope at all to have a common sense budget? And people don't understand, Jody, and you and I do because we both have legislative experience, that the ultimate expression of public policy is in fact the budget. It decides where money's going to be spent, how much revenues you have to spend it, what kind of sources you have for those revenues. And it's the ultimate expression of public policy. And so budgets really count. And some of the worst pieces of legislation come through the middle of the night on add-ons to the budget. For example, the so-called bail reform, which was nothing
Absolutely.
but legitimization of get out of jail free for criminals, and it's against law and order and public safety.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is what is happening in this budget. And you know what? Budgets are about numbers, right? Richard, you and I know that. When we sit around our kitchen tables, when we're talking to our spouses or our significant others and we're saying, hey, we need a new roof this year. Maybe we need to not go on vacation. And we're thinking of ways to cut back so that we can meet our obligations to our families, to our houses, to our businesses. And they are just saying, let's spend more, let's let it ride, and let's tax the rich. Our budget went from $175 billion to the proposed $264 billion in less than 10 years. And it's not getting any more affordable for people to live in New York. And when they come to me and they say, what can you do about my utility costs? What can you do about my cable bill? What can you do about the cost of groceries at the supermarket? What can you do about my car insurance? What can you do about my homeowner's insurance? And I tell them, this state has been voting for one party for 8 years. Has your life gotten any better? And the reply is always no. My life has not gotten better. So, now they're coming around and saying affordability, 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 just like Governor Hochul said before her last election that she was not going to implement congestion pricing. And what did she do the day after election?
Implemented it. She absolutely implemented it. It was a total fraud on the voting public.
Yep. And I think those are the deals that are being made now. I think that she's saying, I'm not going to put it in the budget, but I will do it the day after I get elected. Or I want it in the budget saying that we're going to pull back on the unfunded mandates to our school districts, which, by the way, are trying to budget right now with the unknown of how much aid they are getting from the state of New York. So they have to pretty much assume that they're not getting funding from the state of New York because we don't have an adopted budget, and they have to go out for a vote on their school district budgets, and they have no idea how much they're getting from us. We just had South Country School in Bellport that we really had to bail out. We are lending them millions and millions of dollars because they overspent their budget for the last 2 or 3 years.
Well, let me just Jody, let me make this point, then I want to turn it over to Eric. It's even more problematic for the people in New York City because New York City, under the New York City Charter and the Municipal Home Rule Law, has to adopt the budget by June 30th. The mayor is supposed to put in his executive budget by May 1st. Julie Menon, the Speaker of the Council, is a common-sense Democrat, extended it to May 15th. If you don't have a state budget, how are they supposed to cut a deal and meet their obligations under the City Charter and Municipal Home Rule Law to have a balanced budget? Because they can't deficit spend when you're in New York City. And that's a real problem.
Well, I'm sure you've heard in the press that they're going after the firefighters' pension fund in New York City.
Yeah, they want to use that money. They want to jeopardize that money, right?
Yes, they want to jeopardize that money. So they want to take money away from public safety, essentially, and, try and balance the budget with people's pensions. That is not a bright future for any civil service worker in this state. I'll tell you that.
Eric.
So welcome. Your observation about the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America, I think is 100% right. I think what's in large part happened is that the Democratic Party is dead. That dead carcass has been filled with communists and socialists from the DSA. They hate America. They're communists. They're anti-Semitic. They impose the Green New Deal, which even some of its former proponents have admitted was just a hoax. They prevent fossil fuels from coming out of the ground. There's no nuclear power, no natural gas. Taxes go way up. We have sanctuary states. We have sanctuary cities. The state is owned and run and operated by public employee unions, teachers unions in particular. And yet, We just elected a DSA mayor, an anti-American communist Jew-hating mayor. We have a governor that's basically under the control of the mayor. We have 2 U.S. senators are basically afraid of the mayor. The state assembly and the New York State Senate have huge Democratic majorities. And Republicans have little or no say in the way the state is being operated.
Well,
Let me just finish.
Okay.
So,
yes.
So it is pretty clear to me that the state is in a death spiral, and absent some extraordinary event, it's going to continue into this death spiral. My question is, if I am right that we are entering this death spiral and the Democrats and DSA are this awful, why can't Republicans win?
That's a great question. And you know what? There are so many people that are on the public dole that they are afraid that if they vote in Republicans, that they're going to lose all their benefits. I'm the ranker for New York State for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and I'm very passionate about it. And we have made a lot of headway when it comes to the care and the people that care for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I can tell you that I have had those conversations with them. You know, you used to be at the top. I say the same thing to our veterans and to our seniors. You used to be top priority. Now where are you? You're at the bottom. Who's first? The New Americans in the Office of New Americans. I said, so your life got a little bit, is not as great as it used to be on the old Democratic Party that you used to know. And you just have to get the message out there that is your life better than it was 8 years ago when one-party rule came into play? When you have a governor Democrat, you have a Senate Majority Leader, Stuart Cousins, Democrat, and you have an Assembly Leader, Heastie, those three sitting in a room, and with all of their legislative body and their wants that they want for their districts, which is not in the best interest and definitely not fiscally responsible for all the residents of New York State. And you've got to get them to change their minds and their way of thinking, because the old Democratic Party that they used to know, it doesn't exist anymore. And it's only going to get worse with this Democrat Socialists of America, where they want everybody to be poor. They want everybody to be dependent on the government. They want everybody to struggle and not be able to pay their bills. And they want the bread lines, in my opinion. And they're going to live high on a hog.
So, but what's the message? I mean, we have Bruce Blakeman who's running for governor. Hopefully he can win. You know, jury's out.
I hope so too.
That would be great. But where is the Republican Party? I got to tell you, I've been looking around in New York State. I grew up in Suffolk County. I grew up in Huntington. I now live in Westchester. Mike Lawler is my congressman. But
yeah, you sit behind me in the assembly.
So you look around New York State. Statewide, there is really no meaningful Republican participation. And where's the message? What's going to bring the Republican Party back?
Well, I think that it's going to be the whole focus on. We all want a clean environment to live in, right? We all want a nice place to live. We don't want to see garbage on the side of the streets. We want to see our garbage is getting picked up. We want to see that our water is running and that our cars are functioning and we are able to go to work. We want to work. We need to make the messages. Look at your energy bill. Look at your cell phone bill. Look at your insurance premiums, your health insurance, your homeowner's insurance. Look at your auto insurance. Look at the cost to buy a car. Look at the drive of government to get you to move in a different direction. And people aren't buying it anymore. They aren't buying what they're selling. And I think that there is going to be an uprise of people. And it's a matter of getting out the vote. It's a matter of, is it more important for you to work that overtime or to make sure you get your vote in by getting to the polls a little bit earlier? You know, it's prioritizing Election Day to make sure that everybody gets out to vote, because when they do get out to vote, they're not going to vote for this crap that the Democratic Party, one-party rule, has been doling out to them for 8 years. I mean, we don't even know what the number is that were spent on immigrants that came here. You know, it was $5 billion 2 years ago. Who knows how many billion it was last year? Because they've gotten better at hiding that. But people are angry. There's $200 million in the budget. I asked it at the Ways and Means Committee when we did our first budget proposal. There's $200 million in the budget for legal defense for illegal immigrants that are accused of committing a crime and that are facing deportation. $200 million of our tax money to pay for their legal defense. For men that raped 10-year-old girls. Your money is going to pay for their legal defense to stop their deportation. Disgusting.
Now, you're talking about how school districts are going to have to come up with their budgets without knowing how much money is available to them. Frankly, none of it really matters unless you can get the public employee unions and the teachers unions in particular under control. It doesn't really. There's never going to be enough money until that cycle's broken.
Yeah, and you know what? There is a lot of talk about it, and the governor talked about it when she said, we're going to hire the Rockefeller Center to prepare this report on how the school districts, how the foundation aid should work for the school districts. And I didn't see anything in that report about, I have seven school districts in my district of 140,000 people. That's 7 superintendents, 7 deputy superintendents, 7 nurses, 7. You get where I'm going. When I talk to my friends who moved from New York to North Carolina or to Texas or to Florida, they say, the school districts are by counties. But, that is something that has been discussed for how many years? 100 years, 200 years? What are we talking about here? Why are school districts? And listen to me, when I tell you that I know the teachers, and the teachers love their students. Every teacher that I have ever met loves their students.
Love teachers. It's the teachers' unions. Love the teachers. It's the unions.
Right, but it is so top heavy with administrative costs that the money is not coming down. And the fact that they're trying to do away with all the AP classes and they don't want the smarter kids to get smarter. They want everybody to learn on the same level is nonsense. Who are our future leaders? Who are our future innovators?
Save AP, cut social justice and diversity, equity, and inclusion, which are inherently racist, anti-Semitic, and unconstitutional. Say you want to cut administrative budget, you get rid of the DEI folks and all these school systems. There'll be millions of dollars available for teachers.
They come to me all the time and they say, and I said, you know what happened to a merit-based society? What happened to this was my education and this is what I've done with it? What happened to the innovators? And you're 100% right. And I think that our president is working on that, on the diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we're seeing him do it on a federal level and trying to get it to trickle down to the local level because it should be based on merit, not on the color of your skin. Well,
Jody, I have to tell you, it's always a pleasure talking with you and seeing with you. Eric always disputes this. I'm known as the common sense House Democrat.
I don't know who known to whom.
Yeah,
known to whom.
Right,
it's in your own head.
That's right. I'm the David Pass and I are the last of the common sense Democrats. I'm hopeful. There may be an epiphany in my party to take back sanity. But in the meantime, the only common sense solutions seem to be coming from the Republican Party, and I'm very hopeful that in this election cycle that you're going to pick up more seats in the state assembly, more seats in the state Senate as a counterbalance. It'll be absolutely wonderful to have a Republican governor. You have to break this one-party monopoly. This one-party monopoly does not act in the public interest. It's all about sustaining themselves. This idea of on this level 6 of the pensions of giving more money to these union bosses to spread around is incredible. You don't have the money to do that. You know that better than I do, being in the assembly. That's, of course, that's billions of dollars a year, which would be better spent. And this was a deal that was cut a long time ago as a money saver. So their willingness, that is the Democrats, to repudiate all common sense and to just go along to get elected and to keep themselves in place is very frightening, which is why this is one common sense Democrat who supports Republicans for the state legislature and for the Congress and for higher office. Jody Giglio.
And I invite you all to go to the New York State Assembly Minority Conference website and you will have a full outline of all of our policies and what we're pushing for and what we're fighting back on. So I invite you all, and that's how we're going to get the message out, is just by sharing stories, and you'll get all of our newsletters, you'll get all of our updates on our weekly happenings in the Assembly, and I think it's going to take outrage for people to get out and vote this year, but it's very important that everybody gets out and votes, and I'm not telling you how to vote, but I'm just saying if you're happy with the way your life is now, continue voting the way you are, and if you want to see a change, we have to change the governor.
Well, Jody, thank you very much for being with us this week. It's been a great conversation. We loved having you on. On behalf of Chairman Garcia, Eric Levine, and myself, I want to thank you for being here today. This has been Let the Record Show. We look forward to being with you again next week. As always, God bless you, God bless your families, and of course, God bless America. Thank you very much for listening.
Roger Stone here. Every day you wait, your money loses value, but gold and silver don't follow those same rules. American Sovereign Bullion gives you access to a nationwide wholesaler network, helping you secure aggressive pricing on real physical metals. Call 844-272-2428 now to get your free gold and silver guide to learn how to protect your wealth with physical gold and silver, delivered right to your door or with a gold IRA. Visit asbgold.com. That's asbgold.com for your free gold and silver guide today.